Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. Tonight, I'm going to present about the year that Plumas Audubon Society had and what next year is going to look like as well. So I put together a group of photos, and then in the back, I have a little display and an annual report that kind of summarizes this information for you as well. So let's get started. The presentation is called, sorry, now it's frozen. There we go. Presentation I've titled is How the Year Flew By, because I thought it was a cute bird pun that I could use for this presentation. And to start by introducing myself, even though most of you here know me pretty well, my name's Liz Ramsey. I am the operations director at Plumas Audubon, and I started working for the organization in 2019. We have somebody else joining us, so I'm going to pause for just a second and let her get situated. I think the door's locked. Thank you, Marco. Welcome. We're just getting started. You only missed one slide. So, yeah, I moved here in 2017 from Michigan to get my associate's degree at FRC in environmental studies. And then I started working as a field tech at Plumas Audubon in 2019, monitoring aspen. And from there, I switched roles a little bit and started doing some office management and then some more biological field surveys, and quickly advanced to becoming a project manager, and now I'm the operations director. So I handle just about everything at the organization other than our forest health projects. So that's our wildlife projects, our outreach, membership, admin, finance, and staff. So I'm going to tell you about our amazing year that we've had and then what next year is going to look like. So we started out our year by having some staff changes. We let go or said goodbye to our old executive director, Lindsay Wood, and we brought on our new executive director, Ryan Toney. Ryan has his PhD in ichthyology and is an alumni of Feather River College. So he's a fish biologist. And he's also been a part of the Plumas Audubon board for quite a while. I don't know, 5 years or more. Yeah. So Ryan came on in the late winter, early spring as ED, and we've had a great year together. We worked really well together in the past. He was a project manager for our frog project, the Moonlight project. He was my supervisor, and so we have been working really well together. I'm going to let somebody else in. Okay. Welcome, Mom. So we started our year by taking a really close look at this. This is Plumas Audubon Society's mission statement. The mission of Plumas Audubon is to promote understanding, appreciation, and protection of the biodiversity of the Feather River region. And we do this through education, research, conservation, and restoration of natural ecosystems. So tonight's presentation is going to talk about how all of our projects for this year fit into these 4 categories: education, research, restoration, and conservation. So I'm going to start by talking about our grebe project. This is a grebe decoy, and this is an actual grebe and its nest with its eggs. And you'll notice that it's not on its nest. That's not a good thing. So this is a western grebe. There's 2 types of grebes that are found in this area that fall under the title of Echemophorus grebe. This is also a western grebe, and you can kind of see more closely that you know it's a western grebe because the black kind of goes over its eye like this. And so Plumas Audubon Society has been studying these 2 species, or this genus, 2 genera of birds since 2010. And they did a study for 10 years from 2010 through the end of 2019 into 2020, where they looked at the breeding success of these birds on 4 Northern California lakes. So that was Almanor Lake, Lake Antelope Lake, and Lake Davis, and then Eagle Lake, which is kind of out of our watershed a little farther north. And this was funded by Audubon, California, and it was to kind of look at how do these birds do where they're breeding in response to an oil spill that happened where they spend time in the winter on the coast of California. So we found that Almanor had very low breeding success. There was maybe 1 or 2 years with some of these eggs turning into chicks, but other than that, there was pretty much total colony abandonment, whether that was from reservoir elevation drop or wind or smoke effects, or a combination of the three. So in 2019, we stopped receiving funding for this project from California's Audubon chapter. And in 2020, I came on into this project and I created a fundraiser, and we fundraised about $6,000. And so we used that money to just monitor the grebes at Almanor, because we knew that there was a lot of them there. It was very close to us, and there was a lot of nesting failure there. So, and then in 2021, we did 1 or 2 surveys, and the Dixie Fire came and burned right up to the shore here. So this was in 2020, and this is Highway 89 is just right behind this. And you can see that within a month here, this is September, this is August, there was about 400 nests in this location that were totally abandoned because the reservoir elevation had dropped. So in 2021, we tried to go out there, but we couldn't even get to this location. The fire burned right up to this area. So this year, we also didn't have any funding from California Audubon, so we started our fundraiser up again. We decided, okay, we're going to keep trying to monitor with the support of our community, the roundup at the register, other local donors like Feather River Outdoors, and we decided that we would continue monitoring at Lake Almanor, and we would try to throw a single-day grebe festival, which we did. It was at the Olson Barn. But the whole point of this was to share with the community some other really exciting news. And that is that this year we've been talking to a group called the Curry's Divestment Trustee Council. They're a group that manages funding from oil spills that have occurred under the National Foundation for Fish and Wildlife. So they receive funding from settlements that occur based on oil spills, and then they kind of allocate where that goes to fund recovery. So this is all kind of, the grebe project fits in with education and restoration and conservation and research. It's one of our projects that really fits all 4 of those pieces of our mission, because this was our opportunity to educate our public about this. We had about 80 people come. We took 40 people on trips on kayaks or on bird walks, and we had music and food and a bunch of different local nonprofits and organizations presenting information about their work in the watershed. So this was really exciting for us, not only to revamp the Grebe Festival, which happened for a few years up until 2018, but then also to tell our community that we have funding for 2023 and 2024 to monitor these grebes and to put on another Grebe Festival next year, which will be a multi-day event, which will have bird walks and pontoon tours and activities for kids. So that was one of our biggest successes this year, one of the events that we really are proud of. The next project that I'm going to share with you guys is our Moonlight Fire Restoration Project. And this is a contract that we have with the Forest Service. And I think that this one falls less under education and more under restoration, conservation, and research. So this year we brought on a lovely field crew. This is Julia and Charlie and Dylan and Abby. Julia and I went to FRC together. Charlie and Dylan have worked for the Forest Service in the past doing similar things, and Abby goes to FRC and is somebody who I've also known for a little while. And so they came on and joined us and really did so much work on this project this year. So the first part of this project that they worked on is about this species that you see a picture of. It's a Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frog. And the unique thing about this project is that this species of frog is very special because it is the last remaining population of a specific clade of Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frogs. They're the Diamond Mountain clade. Welcome. So our crew is out there with the intention of finding egg masses first and foremost. There's not very many of this specific genetic group of frog left, and there has been field techs far before me who have been out really looking for their egg masses with the goal of finding the egg mass and taking it to the zoo, rearing it in captivity and releasing it back into the wild to kind of supplement the population. So our crew, mostly myself and Abby, started in April snorkeling in snowmelt and looking for these frogs, but especially looking for their egg masses. We believe that their timing, their breeding, and have a very particular location that they're breeding. I wish we knew where it was, as Colin knows. And so we're out there as early as we can be, trying to figure out what the right water temperature is and where they're going to be laying their eggs. Unfortunately, we didn't have any success finding egg masses again this year, but we did find 9 or 10 different frogs, 2 of which were small juveniles, and then the rest were adults. And so when we find an adult, if it has not been found before, it won't have any tag in it. So say you find a frog and it doesn't have any pit tag in it, or it doesn't have an identification. You know that because you have a scanner and you capture the frog and you scan it. And if nothing comes back, then you're going to put in a grain of rice sized tag under its skin. And then anytime you recapture that frog, you're going to scan it. The first thing you do is scan it and see, have we found this frog before? How long has it been out here? How long have we known of it? And this year we found 2 frogs that hadn't been tagged before. So we were able to tag those and add them to our database. And 2 of the juveniles we found were actually recaptures. And Colin and I were just talking earlier this week about something called chytrid. And chytrid is a fungus that's made its way into our waterways and has caused the death and extinction of a lot of different amphibian species. And when we're capturing these frogs, we're also swabbing them to take it back and look at it in the lab and see how high the chytrid load is. And this year, one of the frogs we recaptured had one of the highest chytrid loads we've ever found, but it was a survivor. Last year we caught it at 32 millimeters, and this year we found it again at 34 millimeters. So something that Colin said is we really need that in the genetic pool. So even though we're not finding the egg masses, we're still finding some really great information. And I'm starting to look at the movements that they're making throughout the creek. And some of these frogs move a long ways, and some of them stay put, no matter what time of the year it is. And so I feel really confident that we'll continue doing this project and finding out some more really great information, and hopefully finding that egg mass and being able to bring that population a little bit of stability and genetic diversity, hopefully. So the other aspect of the Moonlight Fire Restoration Project is focused on aspen. So I took this picture in 2020, and you can see that there's some really burnt logs here. That's because the Moonlight Fire was what this funding originally came from, but this area in which all these aspen stands are has burned multiple times at multiple different severities in different time spans, right? So we were assigned 35 stands, and all of those stands have burned either 1 time to 4 times at a different combination of severities. So our crew went out, and there were about 16 established transects, because the original intention after the Moonlight Fire was to say, okay, do we need to take the conifers out of this area? Do we need to do some conifer release to let these aspen grow back in? But then the fires came through over and over again. And so now the focus is really to say, well, how does aspen respond to fire? And if it burns at a super high severity, does it come back better than ever? Or if it burns at a low severity, do the big trees die and then there's nothing there, it doesn't come back? So our crew went out and they counted 15,000 individual aspen trees this summer between June and July. Really amazing work. And so what they're doing is walking a 100-foot transect, and they're counting every tree within 3 feet of each side of it. And they're measuring how tall it is, whether it's a small tree or a big tree, how thick it is. And then we know, based on data that we have from fire severity, what combination of burns did that stand go through. So Michelle Copoletta at the Forest Service is going to be analyzing that data this winter and taking a good look at how aspen responds to fire, which can inform future forest health management. So I think that with the Moonlight Project, we're really doing incredible research with the goal of conservation and restoration in mind with finding egg masses. But with the Aspen Project, it's really heavily focused in restoration and conservation because we're looking at and research. How does this respond and how do we move forward with this data? So the next project that I want to share with you guys is our Genesee project. And I apologize if this photo is a little gory for you. The Genesee Watershed Improvement Project is a grant that we received from Sierra Nevada Conservancy in partnership with the Forest Service and the Feather River Land Trust. And it focuses on some of the forest around Genesee Valley. So I believe this project started in 2018 before I came on. And then when I was on the field crew in 2020, we went out and did some resource surveys to, I wasn't a part of the botanical surveys, but the organization did botanical, cultural, and biological resource surveys. And so I got to go out on a spotted owl survey. And they already knew where the nest was. And our goal was to go and find this pair of owls and mouse them, which is where you take a mouse with you and you say, hey, owl, I got a mouse. And the owl comes right up to you and takes the mouse, and it will go back to its nest tree where hopefully it has babies. And so then you're going to go find that tree, you're going to confirm there are babies, and you're going to say, hey, we need to keep this in mind during treating any treatment that we're doing. Luckily for me and not luckily for the owls, this pair did not have any babies this year. It just took a few mice and then it took a nap. But it was a really special experience. And we've recently completed all of the CEQA and NEPA resource surveys and have moved on to trying to get some implementation going. And I say trying because in 2021, we had all of our piles ready to go and the Dixie fire rolled through and burned all of our piles. So Ryan Toney, who I showed you guys a photo of earlier, he is working really hard on this project and just recently signed a contract with Firestorm to do some more thinning, which we're all in support of. And then hopefully we will get to do some burning this spring, if not sooner. So this project is the legacy project of a planning grant that Daryl got a while ago. I probably wasn't even living here at the time. So we're really happy to see some more work being done on it. And I think that this project really falls into what we're trying to kind of steer away from. That's less of our niche. It's more of the watershed health projects and forest health projects, but it's still really important work because it's all about habitat, just like the Aspen project. That may not be directly related to monitoring wildlife, but aspen are really important to wildlife, especially after catastrophic wildfire. The next project that I want to share with you guys is one of Plumas Audubon Society's longest standing projects. It's focused on education, which I showed you is the first thing on our mission statement, education of youth particularly. So the Plumas Environmental Education Program, we call PEEP, is a program that was originally started with an EPA grant where the organization, Teresa Arati and Michael Hall, they were previous staff members. They wrote this grant and they created the Birds and Climate Change curriculum, which is now being used at all PUSD sites for the 5th grade year of the bird. Rob Wade gave a presentation previously about our PEEP program and how every year of school, every school year for the kids is assigned to a specific group of animals. So we really focus on the 5th grade year of the bird. And we have been visiting classrooms, and our goal is not to teach them that actual curriculum. We developed it and provided it as a resource for the teachers, but we're the experts and the fun field trips. So when we go into the classroom, the kids are excited and they get to go outside and they get to go birding, or they get to build bird houses, or tomorrow we're taking them on the Christmas bird count in Sierra Valley, the Portola 5th grade class. So this year we got a grant from the Strong Foundation to continue doing this work, which is really exciting. And they actually just emailed me about wanting to fund this again. So it's a really long-standing thing that we've been a part of that I'm happy to keep doing. And I think it's really important to get youth outside and appreciating the nature that's in their own backyard. The last project that I'll share with you is one that I'm really excited that we got to do this year. We had a contract with the Forest Service under the title Habitat Management Plan, and it was previously to do Western pond turtle work. And this year we had our crew, once they were done with the Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frogs, they got to study foothill yellow-legged frogs. So they worked right here on Spanish Creek, just down the road on the way to Meadow Valley, and they found over 10 egg masses, I believe, something like that, maybe a little less. Anyways, lots of egg masses compared to what we experienced out at Lone Rock. And a bunch of different individuals, some tadpoles, and they got to tag quite a few as well. So it was a much closer to home and much happier experience, because you can go out to Lone Rock Valley and you probably won't find a frog every single day, but as you know, if you've been to the river before, you can find one of these frogs if you're looking hard enough. So it was really great to have our crew get some more hands-on experience with these species, so that when they go out to do the Moonlight Project, they feel a little more comfortable. And next, I'm going to just talk about our events and our field trips, because although we do a lot of really awesome conservation projects and work, we also do a lot of public outreach. And I think that kind of falls under the beginning of our mission statement, with appreciation and understanding of the biodiversity of our region, because not a lot of people know about the work that we're doing every day, but these are the opportunities that we get to bring people together and appreciate nature on a weekend or just out somewhere. So this event really stood out to me because it was our second time doing it. And it's an event that was started by the National Audubon Society and falls under this umbrella of their different pride events that they throw. And so this one's called Let's Go Birding Together, LGBT. And last year we held it at the Olson Barn and we had a great turnout. And this year we decided to do it closer to home. And both years we partnered with Point Blue Conservation Science. Last year, the year before, we did it with the Land Trust because we did it at their property. But I think it's a great way for us to build partnerships with our other organizations. And it was really successful. We walked along the trail alongside Spanish Creek by Oakland Camp. And we all did like a dress up as your favorite bird. So you can see that Kelby here is a Western tanager. And then this is Mike, who's from Point Blue Conservation Science. He is an incredible human and really took a lot on to make this happen. So. And then another event that we hosted that I want to highlight, or not hosted, participated in, that I want to highlight is the Sierra Valley Art and Ag Tour, which hadn't been happening for a few years given COVID and fires. But this was my first time even attending the event. And I know Plumas Audubon has been a part of it in the past. So I was really excited to get back into it and do it. Marco pulled a lot of weight and helped me set up this display here where I sold my photos. And then we partnered up with the Land Trust as well. And we did this booth at their preserve. And so we gained 20 new members from this event. And it was a great fundraiser. And people were able to come up and find out about our work and ask their questions. And then they went for a nice walk around the preserve. So it was my first time doing it and it was really successful. And we made a lot of new friends on the other side of the county where we never really are. So. And the last event I want to share with you that really stood out to me was the La Sierra Food Project's Rugged Roots Farm has a pumpkin patch every year. And we share an office with that organization. And I asked them, you know, hey, can we be a part of this? Can we help in any way? And they said, you know, you should do whatever you want. So I thought about a thing that I've done in the past for Earth Day, where we make bird feeders out of pine cones and bird seed and peanut butter. So I brought a whole bunch of pine cones and bird seed that was donated from the pet store and some peanut butter, and we made a mess. We made a huge mess, and everybody was so excited. And these are those kind of events where we may not have came home with a bunch of memberships, but I got 20 to 50 kids thinking about birds, and that felt really good. Taking something home and saying, the birds in my yard are gonna love this, was a huge success. So I just want to mention that those are the events that really stood out to me as my favorites of the year, other than the Grief Festival, of course. But we also hosted a lot of bird walks, which is what Audubon societies are supposed to do, and what we did successfully this year. We had a bird walk out at the Land Trust Preserve in Sierra Valley. We had this one, which was at Butterfly Valley Botanical Area, which isn't the best place to go birding, but we're talking about biodiversity, and there's beautiful plants. Carnivorous plants were just incredible this time of the year, and we had a really good turnout. We had a walkout at Bob Beckwith's property in Genesee Valley, where we looked at, how private landowners can create a situation for good fire to occur on their property. And then Suzanne McDonald, one of our old board members, hosted a bird walk every Sunday in June in Chester, which I heard was a really good success. So in addition to those outstanding events, we also had our regular bird walks, and they turned out really well. And then we had speaker programs, most of which were on Zoom, but just like this one tonight. And we had Rob Wade come and speak about the PEEP program. Michelle Copoletta spoke about her work with forestry and fire recovery. And then we had Friends of Plumas Wilderness present about the Protect Plumas initiative. So overall, the amount of energy we put into events and speaker programs this year really paid off, and I'm really happy with how it went and look forward to doing more next year. So I want to revisit our mission statement. We've talked about education, research, restoration, and conservation, and how all of our projects and events fit into those 4 pieces of our mission. But one thing that we also accomplished this year was focusing on these 2 words that are highlighted, especially birds. So our mission statement didn't always say this. It was an addition that happened in 2020, I think. And when we looked at it this year, we thought, these forest health projects that we're doing are great, but all of the work that we're doing, the only thing that really pertains directly to birds is our GREEP project. And we should be the specialists in wildlife, which we're doing with our frog work. But we also want to be the people who are thought of when there's forest health projects to do the bird surveys and research. So we looked really close at this, and that's what we're going to do next year. We're going to focus on those 2 words, especially birds, in addition to all the other things. But first, we're going to vamp up our green project. So as you know, we've only been focusing on Lake Almanor due to a lack of funding. But when the Curry Stuyvesant Council approached us and they said, we want to fund your Grebe Festival and your monitoring, they also said, we want to fund your pilot study. And they want us to build platforms like this one and give it a go. And it's not something that's been done at a large scale, but it has had success at a smaller scale in different reservoirs down by San Francisco. And so we're currently working with PG&E. We've filled out our application to use their property, and we're thinking of installing 50 different platforms, about 25 near Chester Meadows and 25 near Goose Bay, and installing some game cameras, hoping they don't get stolen, and some signage, a nice display, like a wooden sign by a boat ramp, and then some smaller signs that we've already put out before. And that is really exciting for us. In addition, we thought with the Plumas National Forest has a resource advisory committee, and we decided that we wanted to amplify our data set because we've been studying them just at Lake Almanor, and it's a bleak thing to do. And we wonder if maybe we're not getting a full picture of how they're actually doing in our region overall or within our watershed. So we applied for a grant from the Resource Advisory Committee to study or to monitor nesting at Antelope Lake and Lake Davis. So those are lakes that were included in the previous 4-year study, and we're going to be monitoring them for 2023 and 2024. And in addition to that, we received funding to buy a drone and other game cameras in hopes of making a film. And the film could either document our successful partnership with PG&E in implementing this pilot study, or it could document the alternative, which is what we've been experiencing for the past 10 years, utter and complete failure, and hoping that that will motivate some sort of change in reservoir management. So I'm really excited. PG&E's been on board with all of it, and we're just kind of waiting for our permission. The sheriff is on board, and we have a great year of Grebe work ahead of us, along with the Grebe Festival at its full capacity. So the other especially birds project we're doing has to do with this guy. you can see here, this is an osprey. And we are going to be monitoring osprey nests in particular. Quite a number of osprey nests were in the footprint of the Dixie Fire. And so we're going to focus particularly on, I think it's around 20 nests. I'm not sure, maybe a little less. It's a number of nests at Lake Almanor, Round Valley Reservoir, Butte Valley Reservoir, and Antelope Lake. And so our goal is to go out and see, how did the nest fare? Did the nest burn down in the fire? Are they still using the nests? If they left the nest, did they go somewhere else? And this is also going to be 2023 and 2024. So we got some great gear written into that grant, which will increase our capacity to do other work like spotting scopes. So I'm really excited about this work. It's something I've never done before, and I think it's going to be really beneficial and focus kind of on that restoration side of things, because it could inform future nesting platforms, perhaps when you drive out to Sierra Valley or Almanor and you see those large structures with the platforms. Who knows what it could amount to in the future? We just have to get out there and collect that data and see how they fare. So I'm really looking forward to next year, and I'm excited to share about how this year's successes were with you guys. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation and catch up with what Plumas Audubon Society has been up to this year. It's been a great year, and we're looking forward to next year. I want to remind you before we go that this year started with an amazing observation. This is a brambling. It's a Eurasian finch, so think about like a goldfinch. That's a finch. And this bird was spotted right on Bell Lane during the American Valley Christmas bird count at the beginning or the end of last year, beginning of this year. And it stuck around for quite a while. And it was, I'm not sure the number, but one of the very few records for our state. And so I just want to invite you to take an opportunity to maybe have your own amazing rare bird sighting at one of our Christmas bird counts this week and weekend. Tomorrow we'll be out at Sierra Valley, and Saturday we'll be right here in American Valley, and Sunday we'll be out by Lake Almanor and Chester area. And if you're interested, I put the contact information for these folks, but they're actually in the room right now. So, and those of you on Zoom, I'm not sure if you're local, but this information is also available on our website if you'd like to attend, and we'll have a nice summary of how it went afterwards. So thank you guys all for joining us. And I have some materials on the back table if you're interested, and would love to answer any questions you have. Thank you. Any questions?
Very well done.
Thank you.